Hi, my name is Sia, and I'll be talking about factoring trinomials. So here's an example of a trinomial where there are three terms. We have x squared plus 4x plus 4. X squared has a variable x and a coefficient of 1, but we don't need to really put the coefficient of 1 because it's self-explanatory that there is a 1 in front of the x squared. So here we have 4x, and there is a coefficient here of 4 and a variable of x. And finally, we have a constant 4. And there is a plus sign in between all of the terms. So we know everything's going to be positive. Factoring is basically like the opposite of FOIL. And if you don't remember what FOIL is, it's basically just when you multiply two sets of parentheses together, when there's like a term here and plus like another term like this multiplied by another term x plus like z, for example. So this is basically what FOIL is when you multiply the front and then you multiply the outer and then you multiply the inner and then you multiply the last. So that's basically what FOIL is, and here we're just doing the opposite of that. So the first step we're going to do is make our parentheses. So I made two sets of parentheses here. Since we have an x squared here, we know that when we multiply x by itself, we're going to get that. So we can put x and x in these two spots. Next, we're trying to find two numbers that add up to 4x but multiply to 4. So when you think about it, all you have to do is just find two numbers that multiply to 4 and then check to see if they also add up to 4x. And 2 times 2 works out over here because 2 times 2 is equal to 4 and 2 plus 2 is also equal to 4, and so this works well. And so since everything is all addition here, right, it works out, so we can just put two plus signs over here next to the x. And so we're going to put a 2 here and we'll put a 2 here. We can also check our work because it's always important to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So let's go ahead and do FOIL and see if that works. So we're going to multiply the first numbers, so x times x is going to give you x squared, plus we're going to multiply the outer numbers, so x times 2, so we get 2x. Then we'll multiply the inner numbers, right, for the I. So we get another 2x because 2 times x is 2x. And finally, we're going to multiply the last numbers, so that's 2 times 2, which is 4. Then you just add all the like terms, so we have x squared plus 2x, and 2x are like terms, so we get 2x plus 2x is 4x, and we just bring down the plus 4, and so we get this answer, which is exactly what we had before in our trinomial. So it matches, and so we know that this is the factor for this trinomial. So let's just do some practice problems to familiarize the concept of factoring trinomials. So here we have x squared plus 5x plus 6. So again, you're trying to find, since there's no coefficient over here, we can just put, or there is a coefficient, but it's just a 1, we can just put x times x. Then we're trying to find a number that multiplies to 6 and adds two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 5. And that is, when you think about it, it's actually just 3 times 2, because 3 times 2 is equal to 6 and 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So, and since everything is just addition over here, we don't need to think about it, and we can just put a 3 and a 2. And you can always check your work, but this is the final answer, and that is how you factor this trinomial. Here we have x squared minus 2x plus 1, and you see a negative sign here, so you know that it's not all gonna be a positive, so we will have some negative answers in our factors. So here we have, so initially we're gonna have just a positive x because x squared is just x times x. There's no negative x there. But now we're trying to find two numbers that multiply to 1 and add to -2. So if you think about it, 1 can only just be multiplied by itself, so it's going to be 1 times 1. And so 1 times 1 is equal to 1, but 1 plus 1 is actually +2 and not -2. So instead of doing +1 times +1, we should do -1 times -1 instead of this. So what this does is that -1 times -1 gives us +1 because two negative numbers multiplied together give you a positive value, and if you add -1 and -1 together, you do get -2. So this works out well. So all you have to do is just put a -1 here and a -1 here, and that is our factor for this trinomial. And finally, we have x squared plus 6x plus 8. Again, these are all positive, so we're going to have positive factors. So we have the x and the x initially for both of our factors. Now we're trying to find two numbers that multiply to 8 and add to 6. And that is going to be 4 times 2, because 4 times 2 is equal to 8, and 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. So we can just do +4 here and +2 here. And so those are our factors for this trinomial. And that is basically how you do those types of problems. It gets more complicated when you have different coefficients in front of the x squared, but this is how you just do basic problems with factoring trinomials. Thank you for watching.